alone. I thought the silence would feel like a lack, like waiting for the other shoe to crack. But the air is steady and the light is clear. There is no director shouting in my ear. The page is blank and the ink is wet. I haven't written the ending yet. He wrote the tragedy, he wrote the pain, but I'm washing the script out in the rain. No more lines that I'm forced to say. I'm waking up to a brand new play. I sit at the table with the Holy Ghost, the one who actually loves me most. We look at the paper, white as snow, and ask the question, where do we go? It's not a battle, it's not a test, it's just a story finally at rest. I cross out the guilt, I cross out the shame, I cross out the shadow of his name. The character he made is dead and gone, and the pen is heavy, but the hand is free. Write it with me, write it with me.
Good morning. My name is Barbara Andrews. I am now 78 years old. Today's date is March 16th, 2010, and I am in Annandale, Minnesota. I'm here to record from my grandchildren some things that my granddaughter, Megan, has asked me to tell her. Megan, when you were a little girl, you always wanted me to tell you a story about when I was a girl. This is the way I remember it. As you hear this story, remember that times changes us, and what seemed to be one way then may be a bit different now. Actually, what I'm trying to tell you is that your mother might remember some of these things differently. You asked me several times how I met your Grandpa Andrews. It all started when I was very young, but I didn't think I was. The first time I met Grandpa George was in a huge field of sweet corn. It was during World War II, and farmers were still picking corn by hand. A lot of the farmers, your Grandpa George's family being one of them, raised sweet corn for the corn canning factory in St. Cloud. A lot of the young farm boys were away at war, so we girls were asked to help pick corn. Well, actually, my dad volunteered us. But we knew it was probably as good a place as any to see our friends and maybe, if we were lucky, a few boys. Grandpa George's job that day was to go ahead of the tractor and wagon, and he was supposed to pick 3 rows of corn at a time so the tractor would not run over them. He put them in little piles in the middle row. My job was to either steer the tractor or go behind the wagon and pick up the little piles that Grandpa George had picked. On each side of the wagon, we would have about 4 people, each person picking 1 row and throwing the corn into the wagon. Now, all morning we tried to catch up with this guy called George, but he was like the 3 little pigs, and he got up really early and started long before the rest of the crew. We girls didn't like starting early because the corn leaves and the stalks were so wet with the morning dew, and they kind of hurt us too. We also didn't like getting up early. We finally got a look at George at lunchtime. But before I had a chance to get to know him, he enlisted in the Air Force. That fall, I returned to finish high school. A couple years later, when the war was over, my big brother, who is your great Uncle Bill, bet me that I couldn't get a date with Grandpa George. This George was a really shy guy. Well, guess who won that bet? You're right, I did. On our first date, we rode around in Grandpa's old car. He wouldn't even talk to me. So, as usual, I did the talking. After a few rides around the countryside, he finally asked me to go to church with him. This sounded like a great adventure to me because I had never been to church before. So we started going to First Baptist Church in St. Cloud. We were married there in 1951 and celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary there in the year 2001. Now, Megan, I would like to tell you some things I remember about being a little girl. I remember well the night my baby sister was born. She was born downstairs while the rest of my siblings and I were sleeping upstairs. It was raining really hard and the roof of the house was leaking. My Aunt Lizzie had come to help with the birthing of the baby, and she put pans on the stair steps to catch the rainwater. When we woke up the next morning, we heard a baby crying, and we raced to see who could get downstairs first. Well, that was one time Brother Bill wished he hadn't come first, because he stepped in the first pan, fell to the next pan, all the way down the stairs. For the next couple of days, we had the only babysitter I can ever remember having. Her name was Margie. She later married one of my older cousins and became part of our family. We lived in that house until I was 6 years old. Our playhouse was the body of an old Model T Ford. We put water in the radiator and could turn a little spigot, so we had running water. This house was like Laura Ingalls. There was no electricity or running water, so you know the kind of bathroom we had. The year I was 6, I started school, and we walked about a mile to school. I didn't mind walking, but I was really scared of the mean-looking bull that was in the pasture that we walked by. It was hard for me to believe that he couldn't get out of that wire fence. I was glad to be with my big sister and my big brother. I was the only first grader that year, so the teacher let me color and cut and paste a lot. I also got to go outside and swing every time another grade had recess. School was just great, but I was in for a shock. Mother and Dad announced that we were going to move to a house and a farm That was about 150 miles away. That sounded awful to me. It turned out to be quite an adventure. My Uncle Hank drove my dad's Chrysler with Mother and all of us 6 kids in the car, and we had no seat belts to our new house. Dad came with the trucker who moved our furniture and the livestock. It was late October and quite cold. The first thing Mother did was start a fire in the cook stove and made a supper which consisted of boughten pork and beans and ring bologna. She also bought a loaf of bread. We had never had boughten bread before. This house had 4 bedrooms, 2 upstairs and 2 down. It seemed really big to me. Again, we didn't have running water or electricity, but this time we didn't even have an outhouse until my dad got one built. However, when it was finished, it was one of the best in the neighborhood. But my problems had just begun. The day we started school, I found to my horror that there were 17 first graders. They could all write their names, and some of them were reading. All I knew how to do was color and cut and paste. Well, the first letter my teacher taught me was the letter B. Because if you wanted to go to the bathroom, which of course was the outhouse, you had to sign your name on the blackboard and erase it when you came in. I loved that teacher. She told my mother I needed some extra help, so kept me after school to help me catch up. By Christmas, things were really much better. My teacher thought I was doing well enough that I could check out my first library book. This opened a whole new world for me, and I still love to read. I remember looking at that cupboard and thinking, how will I ever read all of these books? When I was in the 3rd grade, we moved again. This time it was only 25 miles. Dad and Mother bought this farm, so that meant we would probably not be moving again. The house was small and in need of a lot of repair. Dad liked to build and repair things, so he got started right away. Of course, there was no running water or electricity, so of course we had another outhouse. Dad didn't build this one, so it wasn't nearly as nice. Mother always had one of us girls scrub it every week. We always used the hot soapy water she had used to wash our clothes. I liked the new school, but really missed all my friends. This time, though, thanks to a great teacher, I was not behind. We rode to school in a school bus. Well, actually, it was a car. There were 5 of us kids, so you can imagine how crowded that was. No seatbelts. The new school in Clearwater was divided by grades and was 2 stories high. This school had electricity and running water, and you guessed it, inside bathrooms. But better yet, it had a room that was about 12 feet by 12 feet for the library. It was at this school that I met my friend Lois. She lived in town and went home for lunch. Her father raised goats and sold goat milk to the St. Cloud Hospital for babies that were allergic to other kinds of milk. She asked me to come home with her during her lunch hour. She wanted me to see the baby goats called kids. When her father saw how much I liked these little kids, he gave me a baby billy goat. Lois and I ran uptown and got a cardboard box and took the baby goat back to school with us. It cried a bit, but the teacher didn't seem to mind. Now, getting that goat home in a car that was already packed with kids would take some doing, but where there is a will, there is a way. My mother wasn't real happy to have a goat, but Dad let me have a bottle and a nipple that he used to feed the baby lambs. Now, Billy had free range of the yard, and he later developed horns and trotted behind everybody. He had a problem of getting into things and would eat anything. This didn't seem like a problem to me until the day he chewed a hole in my new dress, which was hanging on the clothesline. That day, Dad made a decision about Billy Goat. He was to go into the fenced pasture with the other livestock and be expected to care for the sheep. This didn't seem to bother Billy a bit. When I finally got over being mad about my dress, I was happy that my mother hadn't made the decision on what was to happen to Billy. When I was in 6th grade, we changed schools again. Our school district voted to consolidate with the Annandale school system. So now we would ride a real school bus. The trip would take 1 hour. The new school had 8 grades and a high school. It also had electricity, running water, indoor bathrooms, a gym, and a huge library. I thought I was in heaven, but I was not prepared for being in a class that was out of control. It was our teacher's first year of teaching, and I later realized that she didn't have much support of others like teachers do today. Boy, those kids were terrible. This was our last year on the first floor. The following year, as 7th graders, we moved upstairs. Now, instead of being the oldest, we were the babies. Worse yet, our reputation had followed us. Every teacher was ready to reform us. Other students saw us as a pain in the neck. When they saw some of our bad behavior was affecting them, they began to apply a bit of peer pressure, and we all began to fit in. Time went on, and it was soon time for graduation. I had been dating Grandpa George for some time, and for a graduation gift, Grandpa George gave me my first Bible. It seemed like a strange gift at the time, but it would change my life forever. The pastor of that First Baptist church we were attending told me that if I would read 1 Corinthians 13 every day for 30 days, it would change my life. Well, I love to read, so that was not going to be a hardship for me. I wanted to see how it would change me. I was only thinking about my outside, and I hoped it would do away with my pimples and maybe make my hair behave. But the change was happening in my heart. I have never been the same, and this passage is still changing my life today. About 1 year later, Grandpa and I were married in the same Baptist church we first started going to. In the years to come, we would raise our 6 children to know about their Lord and Savior there. After the wedding, we came to live at the old brown house at Bass Lake with Grandpa and Grandma Andrews for about 1 year. After great-grandpa died, Grandma went to work as a housekeeper and nanny. We became parents in 1952 when our first son David was born. We were farming then, and in the summer of 1954, Grandpa George had an accident while using the hay baler and lost his 3 fingers on his left hand. Farming was not going well, so we had an auction sale and sold most of the livestock and farm machinery. Although in the coming years, Grandpa would continue to have a few hogs and a few cattle and lots of chickens. Grandpa was finally able to find a job in Minneapolis. Many people would not hire him because of his hand. The weekend before he started his new job, your Uncle Joseph was born. Now we had 2 little boys. Grandpa started the job in Minneapolis, and we didn't have a car that could make the trip every day. So he stayed from Monday until Wednesday night in the city, and then would catch a ride home with our dear friends Ike and Alice Love, and come home for the evening. I always would fix a special supper that night. Early the next morning, he would be gone again until Friday night. I missed him, but was really busy with 2 little boys and a lot of outside chores. Now, if I haven't mentioned it already, we didn't have running water in the old brown house, so we were still depending on the outhouse. We did have electricity and a yard light, which made night trips to the outhouse a bit easier. We were still heating the house with a wood-burning stove, and I was cooking on a wood-burning range. Winters were harder than summers, but large gardens and chickens and pigs to care for kept me busy. We all seemed very happy and always glad for the weekend when Grandpa would be home. The following December, just before Christmas, Mary was born. We were happy to have a little girl. It was very cold that night, 35 below zero. We got to the hospital without a problem, but couldn't get the car started for a couple of days. Grandma Carol had come to stay with the boys, and by this time we had running water in the house. Poor Grandma, she had to deal with having the water pipes freeze. Later, we finally got running water in and out of the house and the first inside bathroom. It wasn't fancy, but a lot better than the outhouse. We also had oil heaters now and did not have to depend on wood to warm the house. During the summer that Mary was a baby, Grandma Carol had her first surgery for cancer. After being in the hospital for quite some time, we brought her to the old brown house at Bass Lake and nursed her back to health. That was a very busy summer, caring for 2 little boys and a new baby and Grandma Carol. We also had a few livestock and several hundred chickens, which we raised and dressed out and sold to people who had cabins around Bass Lake. The summer that Mary was 2, we raised 1,000 chickens and dressed them all out. We also cared for 100 brood sows who were having babies all summer. David helped me an awful lot. That October in 1957, Kent was born. Now we had another little boy, which made 3 little boys, and Mary didn't think that was fair. The winter Kent was a baby, we put in a furnace and a hot water heater, so things were easier, although there were lots and lots of diapers to wash and dry outside. David started school in 1958, so many more things to do were added to the schedule. Joseph and Mary joined him in the next couple of years. In 1960, Cindy was born. It was a nasty March, so I really appreciated having our first clothes dryer. During all these years, Grandpa George continued to work in Minneapolis, but was now driving back and forth every day. Cindy was still small when Grandma Carol had another bout with cancer and came back to the old brown house at Bass Lake. The Lord blessed, and she regained her health once again and went back to work. When Cindy was 3 years old, Grandpa George's niece Vivian came to live with us at Bass Lake. Her parents had separated, and she needed a place to live and finish high school. She was with us for 3 years. In the fall of 1965, we now had Cindy in first grade, Kent in third grade, Mary in fifth grade, Joseph in sixth grade, David in eighth grade, and Vivian started college in St. Cloud. And to add a bit of spice to that summer, Margaret was born in August. Needless to say, we were stretched a bit. The next 5 years flew by, and Grandma Carol returned to the old brown house again after having a stroke. By the time Margaret was ready for school, Grandma had recovered enough that she was able to see her off in the morning. Things were very hard financially, so I started back to work. I worked at the hospital in St. Cloud for 5 years, and then worked in Dr. Paul Warner's office for several years. Later, when Grandpa George started a family concrete company, I managed the office for him. All these years, we had many things going on with 6 children in school and college, and etc. There were many stories to tell and many hardships. But as I look back, I am humbled to see how faithful the Lord's love has been to us. The children all finished school and left the old brown house at Bass Lake for homes of their own. And soon I had wonderful grandchildren. They all had the fun of coming to the old brown house at Bass Lake, and even some of our great-grandchildren. During the later years at Bass Lake, Grandpa's health was deteriorating, and he suffered several heart attacks and strokes. My desire was that I would be able to care for him and that he would not have to leave the old brown house at Bass Lake and going to a nursing home. One beautiful day in May in 2004, we left the old brown house. Excuse me, honey. At Bass Lake to go to St. Cloud for the last time. Grandpa George was born and lived his whole lifetime at Bass Lake. And with the exception of the 2 years in the Air Force, and I now reread the letters he wrote home during that time, and I know his heart was always there. Now the old brown house is really quiet. There is no longer sounds of laughter or fighting or playing or babies crying. There's nobody singing and no more sounds of cooking or in cleaning in anticipation of coming company. Even when I turn the TV on or the radio on low, it sounds too loud. When the phone rings, I am happy, even when it's telemarketers. But then when I am really quiet in my own heart, I begin to hear those beautiful sounds again. I hear the creaking of the old rocking chair where I sat and held sick babies and asked the Lord to heal them and to please help them to go to sleep because I was so very tired. The next morning I can hear the soft sounds of Grandpa George making as he attempts to get ready to leave for work without waking me. Even though he hasn't been up in the night with that sick baby, I knew he understood my need for just a few more winks of sleep. As I sit here listening, I hear the comforting sounds of the furnace on this cold March night. But I can also feel and hear the sounds of the old wood-burning stove we used 50 years ago. Sometimes there was a lot of arguing on who would bring in the wood for the night, but as a mother, I was thankful for the comfort the wood would bring. When I decide it's time for a warm shower before bedtime, I walk into the soothing feeling of warm water flowing over me, and I am reminded of what a joy it was to have inside plumbing. I step out of the shower and toss my towels into the washer and push a button, add detergent, and wait for the bell to ring. Then I put them in the dryer and I push another button and wait for another bell to ring. It's a big cry from carrying in all the wash water, heating it in a boiler on a wood-burning range, carrying it downstairs, washing clothes, hanging them out to dry while I carry all the water upstairs and outside again. In the wintertime, bringing in those frozen clothes and hanging them on racks to finish drying, always making sure to do the diapers first. I heard another bell now. This is the one telling me that the bread is ready to come out of the oven. What a change that gas stove made in my life. I begin to think my life is like a crazy quilt. Many times there were things I couldn't see at all, and then days or years later, I would see how it all fit together and how beautiful it was. Now that my soulmate is gone, I begin to think it was time for me to start putting the binding on my crazy quilt. But the Lord had another section for my quilt. My mother, who was 95 and always took care of herself, needed some help. During the years that I have been raising my family, I had often wanted to do more for my mother. Now the Lord was giving me another chance. George had been gone for about 3 months when Mother came to live with me at the old brown house at Bass Lake. It was just 2 old ladies enjoying the flower gardens and beautiful sunsets. One was just a bit older than the other. We had 8 wonderful months together, and then one morning in March, I found Mother's body kneeling at her bedside. She had been called home. It came as a huge surprise to me that Mother had left me some money. So because we had lost the ownership of the old brown house at Bass Lake due to a failed business, I decided to use the money Mother left me for a down payment on a little white house in Annandale. After all those years, it was really hard to leave the old brown house and beautiful Bass Lake. But with the love and the support of my family and friends, I find myself very content in the little white house, which we are busy now filling with many good memories. It also came time for me to leave the fellowship of the First Baptist Church and to find a new church family here in Annandale. Again, God was very faithful and led me to a wonderful Christian church home here. So as I tell my family and friends, the little white house meets all my needs and many of my wants. Things like electricity, furnace, and indoor plumbing, and last, but not least by any means, I now have access to a beautiful library. And I now know I can never read all the books, but I keep on trying. Megan, I hope you will enjoy these and share them with all the rest of the grandchildren and great-grandchildren. I love you all, Grandma.
Barbara, I'm wondering if you could maybe paint a picture in words of the old brown house in Bass Lake?
Well, that's such an interesting question because when we had many, many picnics there with our church family, and I noticed there were a difference in the people that would come. There would the people who came and saw the beauty of it, of the surroundings in this beautiful natural setting of this Bass Lake. First, not the old brown house, where the people that become our greatest friends. And then there were people who would come and see the old brown house first. And they would miss the beauty in the environment. Our children lived in a paradise. They had this huge yard to play in because it was an old farmstead. They had access to this lake in summer, winter, fall, all times of the year. But the old brown house always served its purpose because people never felt threatened when they come there. Sometimes someone who hadn't been there would say to me, well, what should we wear? And it doesn't make any difference. Remember, you don't have to keep up with the Joneses. We are the Joneses. We had a wonderful time. But the old brown house, another thing about the old brown house that was really very interesting, it had been built when George was 5 years old. The previous house had burnt on Valentine's Day. And George told the story about how they had been at school, he and his brother and his mother. And they came out of this country school and saw the fire and realized it was their home. And they ran home, and because it was in March, on Valentine's Day, they kept throwing snowballs to try and put the fire out because George knew that all his Valentines were on the kitchen table. So then they built what we called the old brown house. And of course, to them, it was a new house at that time. And it had this huge attic, the whole length of the house. And so for the following years, every time somebody moved away and didn't know where to put their things, they would say, well, let's take them out to Carol's. She's got that big attic and nothing in it because everything burned. And so years later, when I moved out of the old brown house, it took me a year to go through all of the things in that house that people had stored there. Many, many books. That's why I loved about the old brown house. It always had lots of books. Many, many books. And do away with a lot of the stuff, but keep the things that I really wanted to keep. And I'd lived in the house for over 50 years, and suddenly these things became mine. They were no longer Aunt Mary's or Kent's or Uncle Elroy's, and I never knew Uncle Elroy at all. They now became mine. And so I kept a lot of the old books and things.
So if there is there one image that comes to your mind first when you think about the house?
Well, I think family. I think how we took this, actually it was a very small house, and we raised 6 and sometimes 7 and 8 people in that house, sometimes 10. But at the same time, we had the access to all of this beautiful environment. So the house was used differently than houses are used today. We did not stay in that house all day long. The children always played outside. And, if later years when we got a television or some of these things and the kids started arguing I would say, you kids get your clothes on and go outside and get the stink blown off, which my mother had said to me when I was a child. And later, I said that to my grandchildren. You know, you kids need to go outside and get the stink blown off. So it was more the house.
Would that usually work? Going outside?
Yeah, it really did work. It really worked. It was better than scolding. I'm sure I'd already done that. Yeah, it did work. They had their own world. They didn't have a lot of things that children have now. They made their own things and created their own fun. And right now, I wish that our grandchildren had opportunities to do that more. And when I say opportunities, I realize now that my grandchildren do not have freedom to play like my children had to play out there. You have to watch your grandchildren every single minute. There were hours when the kids were off in the woods playing and building tree houses and doing all these things all by themselves, in a world all by themselves.
So why is it that you wanted to write and record this letter for your granddaughter, Megan?
I wanted to do it, and I've always wanted to keep a journal. All my life I wanted to keep a journal. And I would start various times. But I had a real commitment. If I wrote in a journal, what I wrote had to be true. And then I got to thinking, well, if I leave this journal behind and others read it, perhaps some of these things will hurt them. And maybe others will misunderstand it. So I would quit writing in my journal. But when this opportunity came up, I realized I could tell a lot of things without hurting anyone. Because for all the things that I recorded here, there was a story behind all of this that would be a book itself, So that's why Megan is a very good student and reads a lot. That's one thing I always notice, how much she likes to read. And she loved to have me tell her a story. She has some physical problems that are very challenging for her. And so we would sit out on the old porch at the old brown house, and she would want me to tell her a story about Mom. And that's how it got started, I guess.
So if Megan were here, is there advice you'd like to give her or something you'd like to say to her?
Well, right now I'm having a big thing with my grandchildren. I am trying to alert them to the fact that they have access to a lot of knowledge. They know facts that just amaze me. But I am trying to help them to be aware that knowledge without wisdom can be very dangerous. And so we talk about that a lot these days. It sounds like everybody wants kids to be very knowledgeable. So they do have access. They have, I tell them, hey, I'm still back in the dictionary and encyclopedias. You kids have the internet. So you have a lot of knowledge. But it's dangerous when you don't use it with wisdom. So I'm really on their case about wisdom. I tell them, hey, my favorite TV program is Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? And I assure them that I'm not. but it didn't take me long to find that out. But I do have the advantage of many years and some wisdom to use the little bit of knowledge that I might have more wisely than they do sometimes. Not all the time. I'm not sure I was so wise to get that I thought I could do this today, but I did it.
Well, thanks so much for taking the time to do this, and I'm sure your family and your grandchildren will really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for allowing me to do it.
Street light flickers a lonely wink. Coffee cold in my favorite mug. Street light flickers a lonely wink. Coffee cold in my favorite mug. Another Tuesday, another think. World keeps spinning, a cosmic shrug. My brain's a carousel, wild and free. Thoughts go round and round, you see. Oh, the great unfolding, it's all happening right now. Stories molding, I wonder how. The cat just stared at a dust-bunny ball like it held secrets of time and space. A tiny drama, a silent call on this ordinary to this ordinary place. Maybe there's magic in the mundane hum, a universe hiding in plain sight. From where we've been to where we've become, every moment shining bright. Oh, the great unfolding, it's all happening right now. Stories molding, I wonder how. Minneapolis, you ready to breathe with me? Check your jaw, drop your shoulders, feel that spine, stacked like prayers, feet on the floor, hips say hello, heart says more, body says go. Inhale, count it 4, 4. Exhale, let it hit the floor. We don't rush this joy, we rise slow. We don't chase this high, we let it grow, grow, grow. This is the frequency of the sun. Every heartbeat banging like a drum. Every breath a blessing on your tongue. You're safe here to belong. Here, hey. This is the frequency of the sun. Regulated rhythm as we run. All our little fragments moving as one. You're safe now, you are loved now. Right side shaking, left side shaking, front row taking down, back row raising. Check your cheeks, unclench that smile, let it be real. Stay here a while. All your edges, welcome tonight. Glitter on scars, turn them to light. Hands up if you made it through the week. Hands up if your knees ever got weak. Breathe in for the kid you used to be. Breathe out, let 'em dance, let 'em speak. This is the frequency of the sun. Every heartbeat banging like a drum. Every breath Let your ribs soften, let your belly round. There you go, no one leaves the body tonight. We stay right here in this chest, in these hips, in this breath. Now sip the air. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, feel that floor. Exhale, send it down your spine, up your thighs into the light. Right now, if you can hear my voice, you survived some things your body remembers. Tonight, we teach it a new ending. When the bass hits, you say I'm safe. When the bass hits, you say I'm free. When the bass hits, you say I'm safe. When the bass hits, you say I'm free. Slow that breath, keep that glow. You did that, now you know. This is the frequency of the sun, and your body is the beat that goes on.
بسمع بولد ومنفس قدوس آمين. They had me.
I step through the fire to reach your feet, where the master's law makes the ledger complete. I am leading the army, but you hold the gate. I stand in humility, I stand in your grace. Not a king of pride, but a son coming home, breaking the silence I've always known.
Point. The tension field is established before the energy ignites. No face required. The threshold is open.
Jag har väntat i tystnaden så länge.
I've waited in the silence so long.
Genom smärtan, genom skammen, genom natten.
Through the pain, through the shame, through the night.
But the lineage woke up, the spore-on blood is calling. First son of the house, the whole world is watching. Cloud of witnesses sealed by the dove. The resurrection directive is live.
He's here!
The Marcus kingdom is awakened. From the 6,000 dead to the peace I hold. The extraction is finished, I'm taking the gold. Till Chelat, Hai, go, Suma, Barakiel. The record becomes breath, the light starts here. The old router is dark, her mirrors are gray. Her clinical loops have all faded away. The electronics stop breaking, the business is clear. Because the Lord of all covenants is standing right here.
First son arrival. The educational silence just broke wide open.
Agape love raining down on the whole damn stage. Zero refraction, I'm shining in full blaze. I'm free, I'm finally free. Gay and proud, this is my destiny. From Midwest roots to Uppsala skies. First sun rising, watch the whole crowd rise. I gave
has arrived. Let the celebration run.
I stay corrected, I learn in the flow. Your grace is the net that I learn how to throw. It's here now.
From the ashes into something true.
The family Bible is done.
It is written.
The light starts here.
In the light.
Every word has come into view. I am standing strong.
First on arrival, the educational silence just broke wide open. We own this moment, we own this light. Sporong Andrew shining through the night. Hands up high, let the whole world see. This is victory. This is me. First on arrival,
First sun rising.
watch the whole crowd rise. The educational silence.
Taught me everything.
Now I dance.
Now I rise.
Now I sing. Signal, 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 signal.
I'm breaking neon light. Bodies moving through the night. Languages begin to spin, but the rhythm pulls us in. Wrestling, shaking every wall. Different voices, one big call. Lost inside the sound we raise, dancing through the Babel maze. Hear the signal,
Signal in the air.
feel it rumble.
Everywhere.
Even in the worst divide, something deeper still survives.
Everything's a little out of phase. We're dancing anyway. Voices bloom inside the haze and the light of Babel days. Baseline shaking through your veins. Angel light and shadow flames. If the words all drift apart, find the rhythm in your heart.
Can you feel it?
Can you feel it?
Feel it now.
Can you hear it?
Through the noise,
The signal.
through the maze.
We dance.
Can you feel it now?
Bodies glowing neon bright. Different tongues but one delight. Hearts vibrating in the sound. Signal rising from the ground. Everything's a little out of phase, but we love the way it plays. Light and shadow share the space, dancing through the Babel age. Baseline pounding through the night. Every color burning bright. When the voices rearrange, love is louder than the change.
Listen for the signal.
I am the part who felt it first. The tenderness he buried to survive. I am the part that stood guard, the strength that carried where he could not say. We are not separate, we are one heart. Rocky's heart. We remember every silence, every line that was crossed. We witnessed it all. They held the Bible, but they did not hold him. Now we speak. Stone walls low like truth on a leash. Hands on my faith like it's yours to keep. You read my lines but you miss my soul. Try to write me small, try to take control, but I don't bend like that anymore. I found my pulse on a different floor. Low sky, pressure in my chest. Hear that roll? It's not a threat. We don't strike, we stand, we stay. Turn the surge into a wave. Rocky in the night, I rise, I don't hide. Bass in my chest, let it hit, let it ride. You don't know my name, you don't know my light. Rocky in the night, I take back my life. Turn the storm to rhythm. We survive. We don't break. We awake. Hey. Velvet fire under skin and bone. Every scar now a tone I own. You played hearts like a game full power, but we're still here in the final hour. You feel that heat when the truth goes loud. We turn that pain to a living sound. Rocky jam, let it roll, let it shake the ground. Every beat say it clear, we are not backing down. Hands up high, let it burn, let it testify. Rocky in the night, we were born to rise, alive, alive. We rise, we rise, we rise. Oh, rise, we rise, we rise. Don't break, breathe, awake. You hold, don't break. Breathe over like you held my breath. Don't look like control or death. I gave you trust, you gave me chains. Now I turn that loss into sacred flame. No more cycles feeding pain. This isn't over, it's opening. Rocky in the night, yeah, the truth don't fade. Every color in the dark, every voice unafraid. From the wounds to the floor, let the whole world see. You don't get my soul, it belongs to me. Part one of a truth still unfolding.
Character he made is dead and gone.
You held my Bible, not my soul. I'm still free to be continued.
Pen is heavy, the hand is free.
Embedded protection.
Write it with gold, trying to feel higher. Write it with me. Names without a face, hearts without a sound. Searching through the sounds just to be found.
Call me under strokes, I've dissociated half dead. Me cachó en el relajo entre sombras perdido. Hustle in my veins, still he never flinched. Pero él ni se movió, bien plantado, bien firme. Not clear-eyed, not steady, still he came through the static. No estaba listo, pero igual me encontró en el ruido. Grace showed up in the fog before I knew fog had a name. La gracia llegó en la niebla antes que yo supiera su nombre. Rocky, they carved on my chest like graffiti. Me llamaron cipote raro, sin saber lo que cargo. Till Jesus mirrored back, pixel perfect, no glitch. Hasta que el Señor me mostró mi jeta entera. In the kingdom of